When I came to you with those calculations, we thought we might start a chain reaction that would destroy the entire world.
I remember it well. What happened?
I believe we did.
What's going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Rays, back again with more of the finals guides to bring your way. Now today we're going to be discussing everything around the Nuke Meta making its rounds in the finals, talking about and showing off some clips of the most effective methods to do so for each class, and also discussing if it's healthy for the future of the finals. Of course, if you love these videos and skits talking all things the finals, then make sure to drop that like and subscribe to really help us out in that all-important YouTube algorithm. But with all that said and done, let's get right into it. So let's kick it off talking about what the Nuke Meta currently is, as there's no point talking about it if it's healthy or not if we don't all know what it is. Nuking in the finals revolves around a couple of gadgets, usually one main choice per class, being placed on a throwable to launch at your opponent for a fast and effective kill. This commonly requires the use of barrels for extra damage or lingering effects, with the green poison barrel, the yellow flammable barrel, and the red propane tanks all being great choices for increasing the base damage that you'll be doing. But what if you can't find any barrels? Well, not to worry, as the heavy and the medium classes can still take advantage of stacking their mines or their C4s on any throwable item to propel their high damaging gadgets at any enemy of their choosing. Mother Nature has never been deadlier. The most common users of the Nuke Meta tend to be the heavies though, packing their intrinsic longer throw range than the other classes and also having access to deadly remote detonated C4s. Lights can do the same thing with their breach charge, albeit much less deadly but still very damaging on a direct hit, and mediums have to rely on their mines for their destructions, most notably the explosive mines for that detonation without the manual clacker that the other classes possess. Unfortunately, the finals gods didn't make this equal across all methods of play, as C4s boast higher damage than the mines, and you can place double the explosive goodness than the light class can with their inferior breach charge. But with this in mind, it's no wonder heavies take advantage of their literal surroundings to toss C4s left, right and centre, making teamfights an absolute breeze. So the main reason that this is such an effective tactic is down to the gadgets themselves, items that were balanced around their need to be placed on a surface to arm before they could do damage, but also combined with their lower throw range compared to that of grenades. With C4s and mines, it takes planning to get the most out of them, as out in the field alone they can be dodged or avoided in the most part. But all this balance gets taken away once you strap these onto a barrel and you can throw towards your target ready and primed. But just how easy is the Nuke Meta to pull off, and what are the most effective strategies to maximise your damage? Well, fortunately, I have you covered. After messing about in the practice arena, I found not all nukes are the same, with some being more potent than others. One's packing more of a punch on the initial detonation, and others with extra little bonuses afterwards, so there is a bit of choice as to how you want to blow your opponents. Wait. So let's start with the throwables, the items of choice we want to place these gadgets on. First off, we'll look at the miscellaneous items, essentially anything you can grab and throw that isn't bolted down but isn't a barrel of sorts. These items are easy to explain, they don't explode any further, they don't do anything special after they've been broken, and these are just items that you can hold your gadgets of choice ready to be thrown at your target. But at least they do 50 damage if you manage to bonk them on the head or in the knee, so there is that.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took a chair in the knee.
Next up we have the gas barrel, the one people that love to flood a cash out room with a green damaging haze, or in some cases love to finish off their own teammates by accidentally setting one of these off. What surprised me with this barrel is that once it's been detonated, it does 0 damage to nearby players, instead relying on the gas's AoE for residual damage. Now, a couple of stats for this gas: it has a radius of around about 3 meters and lasts for about 13 seconds in place, perfect for wasting time on a cash out, flooding a choke point for damage indicators to know when you're being pushed, or even just to deter a team from being able to go for that res on their recently coined teammate. The gas barrel has a lot of practical uses, working as both a deterrent and a makeshift smokescreen for blocking line of sight. Now, while it isn't the usual go-to for nukes in the arena due to its extra damage coming from the gas inside, it's still a very deadly combination for teams that are close together and for using a single C4 to get the finishing blow while they try to find out their way out of the green cloud of doom. Our penultimate throwable is going to be the green barrel's counterpart. This is the yellow chunky boy flammable barrel. Now, while this is the easiest barrel to counter in the arena, being a big yellow target for the enemy to look at and shoot, it's also the most deadly to throw for that big nuke explosion. This comes with 2 main advantages: damage on detonation and damage over time afterwards. Now, while this is not as potent as the gas barrel, the flammable will still leave a small AoE of fire after exploding, dealing fire damage to anyone stood in it or coated in its goodness, similar to like the pyro nade can. This AoE lasts for roughly 12 seconds, giving it some choke point properties similar to the gas barrel, but to a slightly lesser degree. The real damage from the barrel though comes from its detonation, doing a whopping 100 points of damage to anyone right next to its explosion, but does seem to drop off a little bit depending on how far away the target is. Combining this with your gadget's own damage makes this a much more reliable wiping mechanic than other barrels if pure damage is what you're after. Lastly, we have the black sheep of the barrel family, behaving in such an odd way that I personally tend to avoid, but others seem to swear by them. This is the red explosive tank, the one item you can pick up that doesn't care for your class's throw distance and instead fires itself like a rocket, going pretty much in a straight line until it hits an object or a wall, to which it then bounces around erratically. Upon testing this, I found the red pool noodle to be inconsistent in how it behaved. Now, while it would explode for 50 points of damage on a direct hit with a target, and would also be fine with remote detonated gadgets, the explosive mines made the tank behave in such a strange way. Not only did the tank get slowed down by the mines being attached, it also turned it into a hilarious red torpedo travelling at 5 miles per hour that could be ran away from, but in some cases the tank blew up and dropped the mines on the floor with no extra damage, leaving the target with a 50 HP scratch and living to tell the story. Now, if you're playing with C4s and breach charges, this won't really be an issue. You can detonate these when you want and get the damage that you're pretty much after, but specifically as medium class and heavy if you play the mines too, it's worth keeping in mind that the mines don't always work as intended here with this tank, and it may be worth finding alternatives. So next, let's discuss the gadgets that facilitate this combo: the fuse to the dynamite, the trigger to the gunshot, the day before release to the angry online gamers with PTSD. Now, starting with the light class, we have the breach charge, the only gadget of choice for pulling off this combo. Looking at the stats on the finals.wiki, we can see the breach charge brings a whopping 199 points of damage on a perfect explosion. Now, while this sounds like a lot, keep in mind that this is the only enough to be able to take down a light class by itself, leaving mediums with 51 HP and heavies with 151 HP left respectively. Now, combining this with select barrels will help us to cross these damage thresholds though, most notably are any that can do further damage after detonating. Green and yellow barrels will be your best friend here, with the red tanks being unpredictable again, even to the point of the charge not detonating the tank for the extra 50 damage, which is a bit odd. Now, green barrels will most likely finish all lights and mediums here with its damage over time, even with them attempting to escape, while yellow barrels will pretty much secure the fast kill on both and do a substantial amount of damage to heavies, leaving them as easy cleanups with just 51 HP on a perfect hit and while they're still burning. Mediums will have it slightly easier here, having the ability to deploy 2 mines due to how their gadget stacks, with each mine boasting a whopping 140 points of damage. This means a single mine on any carryable can pretty much secure a kill on a light class when you factor in a direct hit or an extra damage that the barrels can provide. A single mine can also pretty much kill a medium when they're using the yellow barrel, or with a green gas barrel if they choose to stay inside. But the real menace here is the double mine package thrown on a yellow barrel, being able to eliminate a heavy from full HP due to the 280 points of damage from both mines and the 100 from the barrel detonating. That being said, it's worth noting that the mines randomly seem to disappear when placed on items sometimes, meaning half of your gadget has now disappeared, limiting your chances of getting that fast nuke kill on certain targets. To be honest, not too sure why this happens, not sure where they go, but someone out there is a stockpile of my mines, all armed and ready to blow a hole in the map. But now we're on to the biggest abuser of them all, and I can say that literally, as the heavy class has everything you need to really take advantage of this interaction. Not only do they have the furthest range on their throwing of objects, not only are they a big body to rush in with this barrel of destruction, but they also not only have one, but two gadgets designed to really push that nuke strat to breaking point. The Heavy has access to both the explosive mines, which we talked about already, and the C4's the strongest remote detonated item to exist in the game. Having a whopping base 210 points of damage, this explosive can turn lights to coins by itself and put mediums on death's door with a single use. Combining a single C4 with a yellow barrel means that we're now looking at 310 points of damage to targets before any of the lasting effects kick in. But you know what is even sillier than having a gadget that can do all this in a single use? That's right, having two of these after every single respawn. Yes, the heavy class weirdly has the ability to put out two C4s on a single barrel on every single spawn, meaning it doesn't matter what item you place these on, nothing in the game can currently survive a direct impact from two C4s boasting 210 points of damage each. And I think it's when we look closer at the C4s the strats get a little bit bonkers. Not only do they have so much damage, and not only can they be remote detonated with a decent radius, but the ability to have two at a time is bizarre, especially once we have a look at the breach charge only has one on its stack and does less damage in a much smaller radius. A single yellow barrel and two C4s has enough of a radius in itself to wipe a team from full, making wipes that much easier as a solo player. So with all this in mind, is the nuke strat good for the game? Is it a healthy interaction to have? Does it need a nerf in any sense of the word? And if I was being completely honest with myself, yes, the nuke strat is good for the game, and yes, it is healthy to have as it encourages combo play and using your environment, but my god does it need a nerf, and more specifically it needs a specific one from that. From what we've talked about, any class and any player can use a version of the nuke strat. This isn't something specific to one class, this isn't particularly difficult to pull off for even the newest of players, and it sure doesn't pigeonhole you into playing a certain way for the full duration of a round or a game. It's a strat that you can start a fight off with, and as the throwables decrease in the arena, it starts to get weaker as the match goes on. As with the throwables themselves, by and large they feel fine. You're rewarded with more damage for carrying around a large yellow target that with a couple of shots can take you out of the action over that of a small thin red tank or small green canister that deals no detonation damage. They all have their unique feel, they all pose a threat, and they all do this for different reasons. Personally, I like to think these are fine, but I'd be open to hearing other people's thoughts on that. I think the real issue though stems from the gadgets themselves, the ones that facilitate this type of play. Lights have the breach charge, which is mostly used for utility and destruction plays, but is fairly balanced in this role as a fast way for a light to kickstart a fight. Not having the ability to destroy a heavy in one shot regardless of the throwable means that while this is strong, there is a bit of counterplay to it. This is mostly kept in check from the light having a single charge per cooldown, so you can't have multiple on the go in a fight, keeping that explosion damage in check, but also you need to make that call about if it's used for nuking or if it's used inside buildings or on the cash out. This type of decision making feels meaningful, and it's one of the reasons I feel it is balanced for the class. Mediums is where it's in a weird spot, as technically two mines would be an issue on paper, but as it can't be manually detonated, it does require some form of accuracy and skill to get this to work. Combine this with how the mines work to trigger, and it's not the most reliable of nuke methods to exist. Personally, I'd say this is also fine. The skill gap between the mines and the charges is enough to the point I rarely get nuked by mediums, and pretty much for good reason. But Heavy, oh boy Heavy, you sir are what's wrong with the game with your one-shot RPG, which yes, we'll cover another time, your access to two explosive mines, just like the medium class, and two C4s on top of all this explosive goodness, and all of this in a single loadout. Alone, you're a one-man army throwing your mines and C4s around like toys in a pram with that troublesome kid you see when you're down the local shops. Now while I think the mines are okay, just like for the medium class, the C4s are just a bit too oppressive in their current state, guaranteeing that one-hit KO on all targets with plenty of lenience with the AoE. The ability to have two is easily one of the worst parts to this combo, so easily just removing one of the C4s would bring this more in line with that of the breach charge for the light, but still have a bit more potency on its radius and damage. Now, while I fear the C4 may need more to rein it in for the future, I feel just this alone would actually help the Nuke Meta not get such a bad rap, as in principle, it is a fun and clever mechanic that's fairly unique to this game, and it would be a real shame to see that disappear altogether. There's a way to get balance, and it starts and ends with the heavy class making it look bad for everyone else. But these were just my thoughts on the Nuke Meta. I'd love to hear what you have to say down below. Do you think the C4s are the main culprits for the Nuke Meta being so strong? Do you think the other classes and gadgets need changing as well? And lastly, do you think that the nuke itself is a fun or not mechanic? Let me know all that and more down below. Massive thank you for making way to the end of the video. Massive thank you to the Babylonian family, as always, for their continued support. From me and the guys at Babylon, make sure to keep yourselves safe, keep yourselves well, and we'll see you all in our next video. And take out the trash. Ha ha ha.